All right, hello everybody. We're back with maybe the last actual recap of All Stars. This is pretty crazy. Putting this episode out actually is the first time I've felt like, wow, we really are close to the end. But really excited to talk to all of you guys. Real quick, I don't have my earbuds in right now, so if there's an echo at any point or something gets bad, let me know and I can put those in. But I kind of hear a little bit of it right now. Well, let's go to the earbuds right now. But anyway, while we're here, having an awesome group of guests to talk to tonight, and you'll recognize all of the ones who are here right now. We may have a fifth one joining pretty soon. He's had some technical difficulties, which seems to be a weekly tradition here. Headphones are going in. And you'll recognize all of the ones who are here right now.
It's me.
Okay, how are we doing now? Someone respond to me.
I think we're good. Yeah.
We all just agreed to be silent just to mess with you.
That was a little scary. All right. Well, let me start off by introducing the recap guests that we have so far, and then I want to talk about a couple things before we just dive into the analysis, which I'm excited to hear from this group. But we had so much positive feedback from earlier in the season. I think it was right before the merge. We had a group before who became such great friends that they were called the Furiosa Alliance, and this is the iconic group that actually all predicted the winner of the season. That's right. They unanimously said that Shannon was the winner of the season, and they are sitting here tonight to gloat about how correct they were. But we actually are missing one person in the group, Rachel, because I couldn't get the episode out on time. Had to. Oh, we have our fifth person joining. We'll see how this goes. But she had
Please tell me this is working.
Oh, we did it. All right.
Oh my god, I would have cried. Yeah, maybe literally. I don't know.
All right, Glenn.
I'm gonna try taking these headphones out for a second because they're annoying as fuck.
Okay,
Let's see.
We're live, but we are live.
Oh, sorry, everybody.
No, you're good. You're good.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Okay.
Well, yeah. So we just started. You didn't miss anything yet. I was just introducing everybody. So, like I said, we have three members of the Furiosa here. We've had a replacement Rachel in the form of Mel Sullivan, who I'm really excited to talk to again. You've heard her on one of the past recaps and also on the Don McCollin podcast, probably. And then we have our fifth member tonight, and we'll get to him in a second too. But want to go through each person and say hello real quick. So first of all, on our left, we have the man who invented the Survivor Maryland recap reveal with the fan. We have Mr. Bailey. How are you?
Yeah, you can't write this, honey. You can't write this. No pen required. No, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I have to say, just off the top, that this, I talked about how I had the episodes laid out for everything up until this week, which is why this week was up in the air. And I had no feedback on any moment of this episode, and I had to put it all together in a week and a half. And so it's nice to finally hear some people talk about it. So hopefully everybody liked it. But nice to talk to you. Our second person is new to the show entirely, but I really wanted to bring him on once he reached out to me, and someone who has discovered Survivor Maryland really recently, but has a wealth of very entertaining tweets about it. It is Glenn from Australia. Glenn, how are you?
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going well. I figured with Australian Survivor premiering tonight that we had to prove Survivor Maryland's worth by actually having an Aussie come on.
Oh, no, totally. I appreciate that. I haven't actually watched that yet because I was busy sleeping and watching this. So, yeah. I mean, sorry, I am still discombobulated from trying to work out how to use a microphone for the last half an hour because apparently that's difficult. So, what was the question?
The question was, how are you? Who are you? I don't know anything.
I'm good. I'm better now. I've got a drink. I actually mixed one before I started, which is not the reason why my microphone was working. And I'm really glad I did now because I really need it. That was stressful.
Oh, man. I just have water tonight. I'm pretty late.
Yes.
So, Glenn, also, I real quick on this one, I want to ask, how great are you feeling now that Holly finally got an episode title?
I am so happy. And do you know the worst part is? I was watching it and thinking, what is my episode title going to be? What am I going to disagree with Austin about? And then, what was it? Oh man, I wrote it down. It was something that I really love. Oh, I would have gone, my mouth is a zipper, but I don't know why. That was just my quote of the episode because I don't even remember who said it. I just thought that was
Which
the
quote?
line. My mouth is a zipper.
Oh, I think that was Chris Thomas. I think.
Of course it was.
Of course it was.
Well, speaking of Chris Thomas, let's talk to Mel, the OG Chris. Well, probably not the OG, but I think your first. We've talked last time about this, but your first entry in Survivor Maryland was watching episode 2 and the antics of Thomas. Did you expect him to be here in the finale?
No. And as a fan, did I want him there forever? Of course. Did I think he was going to be there forever? No, I thought it would be too good to be true. But our savior is heading into the finale, you guys.
Right.
He has risen.
Christ.
He really was unintentionally buying into it this week with like a lot of the hand gestures. And
I'd like to think that this was all the universe coming together, and also that you put all those like sound and special effects in just for my benefit of calling him Christ all season.
Well, really excited to have you on again, Mel. Next up, we have Mr. Ryan here. Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Like I said before I got on here, I was working before this, so you're getting me off of work, and I really appreciate that. But it was a great episode to watch. I'm really excited to talk about it. Got a lot of notes.
That is great. I will also say, speaking on that note, that I was not sure how this might have been the longest challenge segment in the history of a Survivor episode. I'm going to say that might be true. I think it might have been longer than the Terrapin Trials Sundial. So I was hoping that was going to land well, but so far nobody has said that it did not. So the initial cut of it was 35 minutes, but I think at the end it was about 20 to 21. So
I think switching the music to the really dramatic piano music halfway through the challenge really made it work out just fine. The length didn't even feel like it was that long.
Yeah, it's like 2 separate challenges almost.
Yeah.
I felt like that. All right, well, we'll talk more about that. That's getting too in the weeds. And last but not least, we have William from I don't even know where you're from. Where are you from?
I live in Austin right now.
Oh,
Austin, Texas.
So,
yeah.
Well, I heard we might not be able to call it that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Did you hear about this? I heard about this.
No, I didn't hear about this.
Oh, apparently there was like a report over that there was some issue with the name, and I was like, look, whatever valid concerns people have, fine. The name Austin is a little personal attachment to me, so I'm hoping that it stays.
Yeah, well, it's a great city, and I'm happy to be back on the recap. This was a great episode. Lots to talk about with the finale coming up next week, or a couple weeks from now.
yeah, not next week. Before we dive in, I just want to say a couple things off the top. Number one, breaking news update at this hour. Play the sound cue. We will not be having Alex G on the recap tonight.
No.
I'm sorry to report we will not be hearing from Alex G. And I do want to talk about Alex in general. Maybe he's watching this. I have no idea. But we had finally in our group chat last week, somebody tagged at Alex G and asked him if he was watching the season, and he gave a flat out, I have not seen an episode. So I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe he skimmed it. And the thing is, he doesn't even have the group chat on mute, but he doesn't chat in it. So I don't know.
Oh my god!
He's even invisible in watching the season, and that's dedication.
Honestly, I think it's pretty incredible.
It's probably for the best. I don't think this season was particularly maybe as flattering as he was hoping it would be for him. So yeah.
Hey, maybe he just needs Victoria and Chris to turn on the channel for him.
I mean, we have a lot to talk about with Alex and everybody tonight, but I actually like, just off the top, what he brought to the season, and I've heard a lot of mixed tonight already. I was actually hoping that this might be the one episode where everybody was like, great.
Sorry, my bad.
What was that?
That was me opening. I want to see comments live, so I was opening.
Oh, that was the recap.
No one is allowed to have technical difficulties but me.
All right. Anyway, we'll get to that later. So I wanted to say that he will not be on here. I'm sorry to say that. I don't know what his thoughts are, all of it, frankly. But he did say to all of us that life is good and things are good for him right now. So that's good to hear. I don't think he has like a bitterness to it. I think he just is like checked out. It may be related to the fact that we had a Super Bowl party, a Super Bowl party at Schubel's house last year, not this Super Bowl, and there was a spontaneous vote out of Schubel's house, and including my actual friends who did not have to do a Survivor or were like from season 1, some of them, but somehow I survived and Alex G went home. And I don't. Maybe that just really. Spoilers for Survivor Maryland Super Bowl party 2016, 17. There were no other votes. Anyway, that's way too in the weeds for now. So no Alex G tonight. As I said in the episode, it's going to be a bit till the finale, but I'm going to try to do some stuff in between. So later, or I guess next week at some point, I'll post some sort of secret scenes. I'll post voting confessionals. I think the voting confessionals from tonight have some interesting stuff, including like the we'll talk about this in a bit. Sorry. We'll post those. I will also have an interview in between. I think planning on to do an interview with Anders, the next host coming up for the next season. So we'll do that. Might have some stuff about the next. Might do a similar thing to last year with Cuts and Glory about the trivia challenge, which is the next challenge, and doing a contest for that. But I'm not sure yet. Have some things to work out. And then in the week leading up to the finale, I will probably release like the whole intro recap preview kind of thing. Leading up to that. So that's why I didn't put anything out tonight. I figured I would do something then. It will be a little bit, and I don't want to rush it, but hopefully everybody can bear with me and wait a little bit till we get to that. I think we'll be excited either way. So whatever. Enjoy your August. Go on vacation. Do whatever, and then we'll come back for in a few weeks for the finale.
Thanks for your
For what?
Thanks for your permission.
Yeah, I know you're waiting on me to yeah. Hey, I heard some comments from you guys tonight about your social lives, so like you do need the permissions. That was
It's a choice. It's a choice. That's yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, let's talk about the episode, and let's start with initial Oh, and the other thing I was going to say before we go is I put this in the bottom of the poll, but I do want to do kind of like a season awards poll with like best episode, fan favorite, all that stuff. And I thought about putting it in tonight's poll, but I couldn't get it done in time and felt like it was too much. So I will post a separate poll on that. So be on the lookout for that. And we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. And I think I'll put out a poll for like nominations or whatever. And then I have to figure it out, but be on the lookout for those polls. I'd love to have engagement in those and kind of do an awards thing at the end of it all. Maybe if we do a reunion, it'll pair nicely with people. Okay, enough off the top. Let's get into the episode. We have a nice audience tonight. I know it's probably a little smaller than usual because it's Wednesday and there's Big Brother and Australian Survivor and all those other lame things. But happy to have who we have tonight. So initial reactions to the episode. Again, I'm really interested in hearing them because I had no feedback on this. So let's start with Will. What were your reactions to watching it?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this episode. I think the penultimate episode of any season of Survivor is always really fun, and it kind of shows where everything's going in the finale. It kind of sets things up, sets all the chess pieces up. So it was good to hear like all the final six's thoughts of like who they wanted to take very far, and then ultimately what they decided. I thought a lot of tonight's episode was around Victoria and Holly. Those were like the two, and who was going to get their way in the end. And I mean, we could talk about it. I think the Victoria, Christy, that side, I don't think they got their way, and I think they're going to suffer the consequences in the next vote.
I think for me, like this episode in terms of the boot was kind of predictable. It was kind of like, I think a lot of people had seen like Alex G's stock diminish as he went along, especially because he kind of rode the safety of the immunities. But this episode wasn't about Alex. This episode was about what happens when the next person goes, and when that next person goes, who picks up what pieces, and how do those pieces function for everyone's game. I think ultimately it was more of just like, it was setting up for the finale rather than actually like giving a crap about who was actually the boot.
I want to disagree a little bit with that. And I think it was less about setting up for the next episode, but really this episode to me told the story of Holly's redemption or coming to the same spot that she did before. That was the story I saw here of, you know, the whole middle of that section there. It was about that challenge and can Holly defeat her inner demons of going out. And then as soon as she steps off that platform, the rest of the episode for you watching it is it going to happen again? Will Victoria, cool Victoria, Holly one more time? And we all wanted it. Let's not lie. We all wanted it. But we knew pretty quickly it wasn't going to happen. Okay, Glenn didn't want it, but
Yeah.
we all wanted it to happen, but not necessarily to Holly in this specific set. But if it did happen, we would all be like, "This is amazing, cool Victoria too. I'm in." And I think that was, and again, that kind of goes along with how the middle of the episode with the challenge was longer, but it made sense because there was so much that was built into that story that played along with it. That I think that was really, while it did set up the pieces for the next couple episodes, that kind of like drove the middle of the story.
I didn't know like what was going to come tonight, and I thought that like obviously Alex G was the obvious boot, but it was really scary to think that maybe this was the time that Holly gets screwed a second time, or that they come out of nowhere and just turn on anyone. So while it ended up being the predictable boot, so to say, it was also the whole time unpredictable because you just really don't know who to trust anymore.
I know I don't trust Austin and shady editing, so I definitely wasn't like 100% sold on that going home. But
Glenn, did you have any initial reactions you want to put out there?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was just waiting. I loved it, and it was interesting because I was kind of thinking about it after I watched it, and I thought after just the drama and twists and everything we've had, the last couple of weeks, on paper, this episode, I don't want to say it would be boring, but like it very well, like it's just like step back just because we've had so much. And then, yeah, I didn't know who was going home right up until the end. I loved getting that challenge. Like if it was 20 minutes, I believe you, but it didn't feel like that. And it was getting those three people, and that's like Chris, Holly, and Victoria in that situation was just so like dramatic and immersive and thrilling to watch. And you don't get to see something like that happen in Survivor a lot yet. That's how the game is won or lost. And I really appreciated kind of getting this completely unique scenario that I couldn't take my eyes off. Like I was thrilled by it, and it was hilarious. Like this was probably the most gifable episode I think I've seen. Like I just want every single random Chris moment and Victoria. Like it was amazing. I loved it. I thought Ashley was going to go. I'm surprised Ashley didn't go. It was idiotic that Ashley didn't go, as much as I love her and want her in every second left of the show. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it.
Oh, no, I was just going to echo that. I mean, I think that the challenge didn't feel so long because of all the strategy happening during the challenge. I mean, the challenge was almost secondary. Immunity was secondary to, you're right, Ryan. It was about Holly conquering her demons of last time. And then also, just strategizing for the next vote, the next couple votes. So that's what made the challenge itself so exciting, not necessarily who's going to win immunity.
And then let's not also forget Chris T doing the, Chris, tell your mother Victoria that I want X, Y, and Z. And then Chris going over, and then it's like, okay, well, tell Holly I want A, B, and C. Like that back and forth just made that. And just watching basically the three main contenders left in the game, I'd say the biggest contenders left in the game, just sitting there, with nobody around, just left to just hash it out and to talk about game and talk about going further. I think that's more of what I meant, that this episode is setting that up down the line, is we have these Clash of the Giants that are happening right now, but they're all working together. So it's just like this, we have a triangle here of the three biggest people. What side's going to fall first? And I think that set that up very well.
I think it's really good, Glenn.
I was going to say, I think that challenge and the way it played out with just the three of them there is what illustrates why we've got three people left who could feasibly win. And there are three people who just can't, unless they ended up at the end with each other. And I thought that was such a great illustration of why Holly, Chris, and Victoria are the three people who by far have been just playing in a different league. Like the fact that Ashley and Eric and Alex G would just even leave them there unattended, like, and not think, hey, maybe I should just like stick around and kind of cock block the strategy is like, that's why none of those three like are just playing they're just not in the same league. Yeah, I liked that. It was stupid, but it was great.
I think that's well said in terms of how I kind of viewed it at the time. I felt like that the episode was so fascinating, and we got to see everybody's perspectives and people taking kind of a different approach. But I think those three, you constantly see this jockeying for position. That's really this whole episode, is them going back and forth, both with each other and in their own heads. And Victoria and Chris have their little partnership. Victoria and Holly have had this storyline. Holly and Chris Thomas have this storyline. And there's like these three relationships just constantly going around together. And as they're trying to get themselves positioned for the end and figure out which relationship they value the most. So one question I had to kind of lead things off was, who out of those three, who did you guys think played it the best overall?
I definitely think Holly played it the best. She had to conquer her inner demons. I said from the last recap, Holly is the most paranoid player in the game, and it's not even close. She's playing the game so hard. She had to trust that Victoria wasn't going to screw her over again. And then she also had to trust that her relationship with Chris Thomas, and she knew Ashley was on her side. So Chris Thomas gave her the point, like, we're not going to vote you out. Just step down, take the advantage, do what you need to do. And then she ended up getting her way in the vote anyway. So Holly definitely played, I think, the best of those three tonight.
I think I agree with that, just because Holly jumped off to get the advantage, and then her biggest worry was going to be getting the vote flip on her, and she gets to tribal council and she gets no votes. And that's 2 times in a row that she's gone into tribal council assuming that she's going to get blindsided, and she comes out of it just fine. And I think she goes into next round solid, ready to go with the advantage.
I think we're going to talk about. Go ahead, Glenn.
Sorry, I'm terrible at this.
No.
Yeah, the fact that she just made it through the next round with Ashley, like, that's the thing that blows my mind. Like, Victoria, as great as she's playing, I cannot believe anyone has let Holly go into that final round. Like, fine, be friends with Holly, she's great. But to let her have her very obvious goat, who will not vote her out, no matter how much game logic supports it, and is like this just buffer zone. Like, I don't know how she managed to pull not just herself, but Ashley through this round. But I mean, no one is coming close to that as far as how well this went. Like, I don't see a timeline that she doesn't win out of this. She's so well positioned. She's played this whole game in the middle, like right from the start. She's been in the middle of every single alliance and reshuffling, and even situations like last week or this week where she should have been voted out. She just somehow manages to keep positioning herself between everyone else, which sounds bad now that I say it out loud, but you know what I mean.
Well, I'd actually agree, because I think that Holly is now playing the game that Victoria was playing in the beginning, where she doesn't need to be the best. She just needs to be above the worst. And I think that when I'm saying that, I'm saying like she's jockeying her position to be like, I'm people's targets, and I'm aware that I'm people's targets. However, I'm not the target for this round. And she keeps surviving round after round by being the alternative target. And I think that Holly is kind of getting into that position where she's like, I have a lot of friends. They know I'm a threat. However, they need my vote. So they still want me around.
I'm going to differ from everybody and just say, in terms of at least around the challenge time, and I know it's not just because I'm a Chris T stan, I thought he played it best with this because he was the middleman, and despite all of this, that they go back and forth, and there were a lot of agreements of whose name you weren't allowed to write down this week. His was still never discussed outside of, I think, Alex G. And while maybe not a great decision down the line because Ashley is still in the game and so loyal to Holly, that getting Alex G out might have been smart because he was ready to turn on Chris or Victoria because he knew he couldn't beat them. Maybe Victoria felt like, what did they say? Like we're middle goats, medium goats?
Medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have said Chris T too, but I think like where he's going to come into conflict down the line, I think is the same problem like Lecomte had earlier in the game of he needs to pick who he's going to side with, because, you know, he has to choose between, you know, he has relationships with Holly and Ashley, and he also has a relationship with Alex and Victoria. So he has to weigh those two sides. And you literally saw him in the middle of that negotiation of, oh, crap, I need to pick a side, or I need to help, you know, these both sides work together. And he's at the point right now where these sides are not going to work together. So I think he set himself up for in the middle, but now he has to pick a side.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about we've talked about some people said Holly doing it best. Some people say Chris Thomas. What do we think of tonight's episode for Victoria, and especially talking about kind of the move that happened in the end? I think there's a lot to discuss here. So, thoughts for Victoria on this one?
I thought she played amazingly until the challenge, and like my notes literally are just, Victoria, no, what are you doing? Like both in the challenge, I thought it was great for her to win, but I think she's really underestimated how Holly's emotionally going to feel about the fact that she wouldn't step down. I think it was smart to win the challenge, but you've got to be, Holly's like not an emotional player, but her feelings are very much what define what moves she's willing to make and what moves she's not willing to make. Like, she wouldn't make a move against Chris this week because he did her such a solid last week. Like, she's got a certain amount of loyalty in the choices she'll make gameplay-wise. And I think Victoria not stepping down in the challenge, or maybe not acquiescing a little earlier, is something that's probably going to enable Holly in the back of her mind to turn on her. I've been picking like final three. I think they're probably going to make it to there, and then that's what is going to free Victoria up to break that bond with Holly again, no matter how bad she feels about last time. And I also think her letting Ashley go instead of Alex G was just insane. Like, I can't process it, because Ashley should have gone for Victoria's game. That's who she needed to go. Alex G was the person who would take her to the final two because he thinks he was on her level, and he would have lost handily too. Like, that was her final two ticket.
I think it was kind of a roller coaster for Victoria. I think she started off high, like you said. I think during the challenge, I think it was a little bit of a misstep. It's going to be tough to see like how much of a misstep until we get to next episode. But I actually thought her throwing that vote onto Ashley at the end completely redeemed herself this episode, because even you could just see the dynamics of, as soon as that second Ashley vote got read, Ashley looked straight at Chris Thomas, and even Chris Thomas was deflecting down to Eric. She got no flack for that at all. She threw that vote out there, and she effectively cut the tie between Eric flipping to them to go against the pair of Chris and Victoria next episode. I think she very subtly set him up to be the boot at 5 if he doesn't win immunity. And I thought that was really
jury
impressive.
vote, right? Like,
What?
she did, because otherwise she would have lost Alex's jury vote. Like, they know he's
That's
going
it, right? Yeah.
He hates Chris now. Like, he's like, I assumed that was purely to make Alex G not hate her.
It could come back to bite her, that vote, because it could easily, Ashley could just easily believe Eric. And then there hasn't really been a whole lot of content that involves Ashley and Victoria kind of working together and talking to each other about game. It's been mostly like, I'm going through Holly, who's talking to you. I'm going through Chris or Eric or whoever was in the vote. So I'm not 100%. I think it was a great move to ensure that Alex G gives Victoria her jury vote. However, I do not think that it is a done deal that Ashley's going to blame Eric for this. It could definitely come back to bite Victoria.
Yeah, but I think Victoria, she did the best she could. I think her hands were tied. I think Chris Thomas was kind of set on acquiescing to what Holly wanted to do ultimately. So I think we don't know from Eric's point of view if Eric would have even voted for Ashley. So they needed Eric's vote. So that was kind of, Victoria was screwed either way. I think, she did the best she could. I think you're right. I think she needed to win that challenge. I think Holly, she said earlier in the episode, like, I'm either going to write down Victoria or Alex G's name. And I think if Victoria was not immune there, I really think Holly would have pushed for Victoria to go. And she would have kind of pressed Chris Thomas even vote for her. And I think she kind of survived a vote tonight, I think.
I do too. I think it would have turned on Victoria in that, as much as I thought that it would be wise in terms of making it allies for Victoria to maybe step down and give Holly sort of that victory, maybe that could have won it for her. Holly's also playing this game harder than almost anybody, and I think she would have taken the shot if she had a chance to.
And if we're going to talk about growth arcs in between Holly and surviving the final 6, let's also talk about Victoria, who also I think had a substantial amount of growth. And I want to credit Later Gator on Reddit for this point that I read. But this time, in the last time she played, when Victoria flipped on Holly, she was contemplating making this big move instead of like getting out the power duo of Terry and Zach. The moment that she flips on Holly, she loses a lot of her stock with Feluke, which ends up down spiraling her entire game until both she and her are Feluke is yelling at her, holding onto that idol. In this episode, Victoria had to grapple: do I do the safe move? Do I take the safe bet? Do I do what everyone wants to do? Or should I make a big move like I did last time? Because it could jeopardize my game like it did last time. And the fact that Victoria, even though she did end up voting for Ashley, she still played it safe. She stuck to the plan. She did not try to get out Holly or Eric, or she stuck to all of the deals that she had made, even if it might come back to bite her in the ass numbers-wise. She still stuck to her plan. And I think that shows a little more loyalty. And if she had jumped ship, everybody would have been like, oh, wow, look, there's Victoria up to her old tricks, turning on everyone once again. I think that she ended up playing that pretty well, as I think like William said, as well as she could. I think this wasn't Victoria's best round. Last round was Victoria's most beautiful, amazing round. My queen getting out, my least favorite contestant. But I think that this is the round that she needed to kind of let her game breathe. Because sometimes complacency is good for your game, and letting things happen is good for your game. And I think that Victoria, it's going to depend on numbers next week, but I think Victoria really has set herself up to at least be admirable to her peer.
Yeah, I think she really endeared herself to the jury here, and especially she had Ashley had said in a confessional earlier, Victoria is seen as a little sneaky and all that, which I think she's played a far better game this time than she did last time for the points that you mentioned. She is talking about, I think she is really voicing the idea of having meat shields in front of her. She's keeping the threats around. Last time in Terrapin Trial, she wanted to vote out all the threats. Holly was the biggest threat at the time. Vote out Holly. And then she voted out Zach, and then all that. I think she's playing a far better game this time, and you're right. Last round was so amazing for Victoria. I think she did need to lay low this time. Not going after Holly tonight, I think, was a great move for her.
I'm just wondering if she maybe overcorrected a little bit, because now we're going into 5. Are there too many threats left for Victoria that it's going to be too difficult for her to navigate? And you're looking at, she's obviously partnered with Chris T, so that helps. She's close with Holly, and that helps. But only one person wins in the end. How do you get down to can she beat either of them? I think she can beat Chris at this point, but I don't know if she can beat Holly at this point. And it's tough to see how she's going to be able to navigate the next couple rounds to get to that point. I think she's benefited by the fact that it's a final 2. And I'm assuming, Austin, they know it's a final 2 at this point, right?
Yeah, I think I even actually mentioned it in the tribal
challenge or a tribal council. Yeah.
But they had known before this, but that was I made sure I put that in there, so everybody knew.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be tough. Other than, she's obviously going to get to cut somebody at 3, but she needs to make sure she gets the right 3, and then she has to conquer her own demon at final 3 and win the final 3 challenge.
Yeah, I was going to say, the thing with Victoria, I think, if we're talking about evolutions in gameplay, what she's done that's been really impressive this season is last season she played a great TV game. That very ORG style of gameplay where you do everything as a game bot, you make the smart, strategic, on-paper decision, which works for fans, but it doesn't work for human beings who are going to vote for you in the end. Like, I mean, it blew up in her face in Final 3 because, you know, emotionally, the people she was playing with weren't in a position that they could handle purely strategic moves. And I think what she did this round that was great is that she played not just even a social game, but like really evolved into playing the game with real people and not just making the on-paper great move, because there's such a big difference if you want to win the game as opposed to just be a losing final tribalist.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's going to make the final 2. Like, that's what I don't see. That's what I still don't understand from her game. I don't know what pathway she's really planning out. Like, yeah, she can win.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of speaks to how everyone has been playing as a whole. I do think that the reason why this season has been so crazy is a lot of people are not playing like long game. It's a lot of short-term game. It is a lot of like, we have alliances. Let's make this deal here and this deal here and over here and over here. Like, everyone has been setting themselves up to flip, and it hasn't been a straight pagonging, and it never has felt like a straight pagonging. I feel like things like Holly voting for Shannon, giving Christy and Victoria immunity, it has worked out for her. Could have definitely blown up in her face as well, though. And so I think that Victoria playing that kind of game is kind of on theme with how the season has gone. It's been a lot of impromptu decisions that are just kind of haphazardly thrown together, and it's incredible television, but it is absolutely terrible gameplay.
Well, I feel like I would disagree with that, and maybe this is me being too far in the weeds of the editing, but I feel like, I mean, I think you're right in that there are so many tactical moves because it's just so dynamic, and like you have to build off those relationships, and people know that there are advantages to going, you know, moving around and shifting and being flexible, especially once the alliances were blown up kind of with the rocks and then the partner twist right after, making things go back and forth. But I feel like a lot of the tactical moves have been with a strategic mind and like a more long-term focus, where I need to position myself to be here in the idea of threats, or I need to make sure I have these people relationships secured so that I have them later on. I feel like you could definitely track things that are, you know, moving around and shifting in the short term, but still have kind of a semblance in the long-term strategy.
Yeah, I think especially we've seen that with Holly. You know, she's had her minions with Ashley and Eric for a little while until the whole situation with the immunities and all that. But then you had, you know, Victoria had Alex G and Chris Thomas, and, you know, so I think you've seen, like, you know, these people are, you know, I mean, they had we're just watching Second Chance, so I don't know if they were, you know, had voting blocks in mind, but I think they have had long-term strategy, but I don't think you're right, I guess, like, in the fact that I don't think they had set final 2 plans or final 3 plans. I think they had a goal of like who they wanted to see in the final 3 or final 4, and then once they get there, you know, they have a, you know, Holly has Ashley, you know, I think Victoria wanted Alex G on her side, someone to take to the final 2. I'm still not sure what Chris Thomas wants as his final 2. He said to every single person, like, oh, I want you to be my final 2. So I still don't know who he wants. But I think there has been some long-term strategy.
Yeah, well,
I think it's a very individual game. But I was going to say, I mean, we get very conditioned watching Survivor to kind of go, oh, we've got side A and side B, whether it's 2 tribes. Like, from the merge, we had 2 factions, and, you know, like, we've been looking at these 2 opposing sides working against each other. But I just rewatched, like, the season this past week, and it's really interesting paying attention to the individual dynamics between people. I think this post-merge has very much been about, I might vote someone off that's on my side or not play as hard for them, but I'm more about keeping who is going to be my individual connections. Like Chris and Holly and Victoria working together, even though they're not in the same alliance at any real point. Like, they might be on opposing sides, but they very much have been ensuring for each other that the people they individually trust for them have stuck around each week, which is what's resulted in this kind of combination of people that they're kind of like looking out for each other, and because it's in their interest. And I think that's been really not underrated, maybe like unnoticed by a lot of people watching it, because you don't. Yeah. I think it's been quite smart, like in a way that not a lot of people are talking about.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really well put statement, and I think it goes kind of with both Bailey and Will were saying, in that I think it's more about relationships than it is about alliances. And so it's not like, yep, we have this alliance, we're going to the final three, and we're figuring out how we're going to get there. It's a game based on relationships, which I think is a step up almost from alliances and being so structured in your thinking. I mean, this could have been a week of 3 versus 3, but very clearly it was not that.
Yeah, I think we lucked out in having 2 clearly defined sides at 10. But even when that was happening, you were watching the 2 sides' internal struggle. And as those internal struggles kind of continued to barrel down the hill, we ended up at 6. And even looking at 6, no one went into 6 thinking it was going to be a 3-3 split. We saw this ridiculous dynamic of pairs everywhere. No one knew how it was going to fall. So even just seeing the 4 come together, like, that was surprising to see. So it was just a really dynamic build-up over time that you didn't really – it was less a fight between the 2 sides, which was benefited by the individual immunities, I think, in the challenge or in the partner twist, helping out with that. But you got to see the internal dynamics of especially the not bottom alliance. They never called themselves the top alliance, but we'll call them the top alliance. And just all of their struggles with Evan and Ashley going at it on the park bench, very hungover. Like, the hangover probably helped more than anything, really.
Hangover tribal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we are conditioned to kind of see things as side A, side B, and a lot of that binary. And I remember reading the comments after episode 10 being like, oh, I'm so worried about it begonging. And then even people after last episode remember, oh, now it's going to be 3-3 or now whatever. And it just never came down to that. And I think, to me, I really enjoyed watching this season play out differently, especially after Guts and Glory, which had this really clear war, which I also like, but in a different way.
I think some of that might have just been people coming from.
Sorry. I was going to ask Austin, did you ever, when you were there, right, and you're watching this kind of play out around Final 10, were you ever worried that it was going to hit that begonging point that some of like the viewers were watching, or were you kind of confident that we were going to get this like really kind of messy, complicated, emotional, relationship-driven gameplay right down to the end?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, and I feel like it happened pretty quickly between Final 10 and Final 9, but as soon as that final, I mean, certainly there was only one round, and then once the partner twist came into effect, there was no way it was going to be straightforward. But I didn't really think either side that won was going to be too straightforward. I thought the worst case was like if the bottoms had won out, maybe they'd pick off a couple and then start at like 7 to turn on each other, which wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world.
Bottoms are never going to vote out all the tops anyway, so it's nature. It's fine.
Ryan, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I think a lot of it was coming from the fact that we had just watched Guts and Glory going into this, so we saw this big
just
4-4. What just watched? Yeah, some people may have just watched it the day before, but I think going into Final 8, there you had a 4-on-4 split going into Rocks, and Rocks fell one way, and then the rest of the season kind of played out the way it played out. So all of a sudden we see a 5-on-5 split, and that goes to Rocks, and then all of a sudden the wheels just start turning of, is it going to happen again? Are we in the same spot? And I think all of us kind of knew, based on the things you had said in recaps and whatnot, that it's not going to slow down. Everything's going to still be chaotic. That we knew it wasn't necessarily going to go that way, but it was hard to like black out the warning signs a little bit. That it's just, this all seems like it's history repeating itself over and over again.
Right.
GG PTSD kind
of. So I want to transition to talking about the other two who are still in with the finale, and I know we kind of set up. We talked about the big 3 from this episode and their moves. Let's talk about Ashley and Eric and what,
because they're in the chat too. We should be talking about them.
Yeah, really the 2 stars of tonight with being in the chat. So let's talk about them tonight and how you think that they position themselves, and also if there's anything that they could have done better, or if you guys think they played well tonight. So I don't know if there's this hot take or a strong take. It doesn't have to be a hot take, but that either of you start off with. Oh, you go.
I think Ashley's playing a very underrated game, and I think she's playing a very good game. I don't know if it'll win her but I think Ashley has a lot of pull and social capital just from like we've seen so many clips of like the alliance being like, all right, we're voting out Alex, we're voting out Alex, we're voting out Alex. How about you, Ashley? We're not voting out Alex. All right, well, new plan. Like she has been able to formulate her feelings. She's been able to like sway the vote the way that she wants. It might sometimes be emotional. She's still able to sway it. And it's like the fact that she has taken she's gone from like an irrelevant person in Outback to just this amazing kind of depth, like deep character is I just love. And I think that I don't know if she has a shot to win, but I do think that she has reinstated a legacy in Survivor Maryland, and I want it to be appreciated and loved as much as I love it.
Ashley Roach. Yeah, totally.
We're talking about the person who was almost the second boot of the season.
Yeah.
Based on what we saw. It was right there. And just now all of a sudden we're at Final Five. And I mean, her name's been on the table a bunch, but outside of like Final Seven the Final Seven tribal, like was she ever really like in a major threat to go? That's a legitimate question. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think the vote with it was like either gonna be her or Siona, the very first tribal that she went to. It was I think that was like the only vote where she could have probably gotten home. But I don't know. I think Ashley. I think while she's played a much better game, and I've enjoyed how much like she's been giving in the confessional, her talks with the other players. I think she's very, very entertaining. I don't think she's been playing a fantastic game. I think she's playing the fourth best game of the Final Five. So I mean, she's played a much better game than last time. But I don't want to give her too much credit. I don't want her to get a big head.
My biggest worry is that this episode has either set up a Holly, Chris, Victoria Final Three, or a Holly, Chris, and Victoria take each other out one by one, and we're left with Ashley and Eric at the end, which honestly, I kind of love. That would be you just have this panel of just like these Survivor Maryland legends, and it's just Eric and Ashley. And I think it would just be a fun hot mess of a tribal. However, I am a little afraid that we're going to lose basically I think the fan base is pretty divided on the top three as to who's going to win. So to just see it go to one of those two would be fun, but a little kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed.
I'd be bummed. Sorry, guys. I know you're in the chat.
That would give us an Ashley Roach win, which the whole season, right? Like, because I watched this before I watched Outback, so I kind of like watched everyone in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't even think it's ironic now. Like, if she won, provided it was against Eric, like, there's a certain amount of me that would really enjoy it because watching her play and just as a character and how unaffected and honest she is with it, like, it's just very genuine and so entertaining and like captivating every time she's in one of these situations that everyone else complains about being emotional or whatever. Whereas I'm just like, this is gold. I love it. I don't know. I think I would enjoy it. I could totally deal with her winning, and I never thought I would have said that at the start.
Having her at the end, I think, would be perfect because we've seen very clearly she doesn't really have much of a filter in a lot of these scenes. Her in Final Tribal Council would be incredible to watch. It really would. And I think going like her against King, they've had a rocky relationship this entire time. You put them against each other, who knows what gloves are going to fly off?
Yeah,
from
and
either
I
side.
would give Eric King some props this episode because and I think someone said in the chat too, but when he said, I'll put anyone's name down but mine, I mean, very Sandra-esque in that, he's just here to survive at this point. And what tonight could have been was also an easy vote of no one really was that offended if he went home, but he made it through again. And I think that that's going to be his sort of survival strategy now is just let everyone else pick each other off and that he'll be the one sitting there maybe in that other seat in the final too.
I think Eric has jockeyed himself into a good position because his play in Final Five is to just work like hell to start a faction war and try to get one of the Chris Hawley or Victoria to turn on the other and to start that up. Like he could easily be a 4-1 boot, or he could. I think more likely he's able to be used as a number to get out another threat, and that's probably going to be somebody that we're going to be like, they deserve to win this season, and it's heartbreaking they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about predictions, I guess, later, like the boot order, but I can definitely see Eric surviving Final Five. He's definitely in the swing vote position of the two sides there. But I definitely see Eric going at 4 or 3. I honestly don't see him making it to Final Two. And if he did, I don't see him getting many votes in the Final Two. But I mean, I don't think Eric makes it to the Final Two. I think he goes out at 4.
Eric's quite well connected socially outside of the game, right? The one thing, even though we can look at him as like, oh, he's played the least flashy game and might not, like deserve to win. But a big part of it is these kids are like friends in the real world. And I always got the impression that in real life, he has some really good connections on the jury that I just can't imagine anyone would take that risk of, like when his roommate is the 4-person of the jury or something like that. Like, that's the thing stopping him, I think, getting dragged to final tribal council. No offense, thankfully, like, because it, obviously there are 3 other people I'd rather make it there. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see him getting past that point.
I think at least for this episode, Eric played it exactly how he should have played it. He came into the episode and it needed to be as non-threatening as possible, completely downplay his position in the game, make himself just seem like kind of along for the ride, so that going into 5, as you guys said, he is kind of in that not necessarily driver's seat position, but he's the passenger who's just directing traffic a little bit. And he's managed to get through this episode. His name was on the chopping block, but that was more just because it was between 2 different people. But in reality, when they were talking between Alex and Eric, Eric's name was always in the second position of those 2. He was never at the top of that list. It didn't at least seem like it. So I think he played himself down perfectly. At least, maybe stepped a little bit over the what he needed to with making the deal. But in the end, the deal seemed to work out for him.
Yeah.
So I think it'll help his social capital going into 5 also.
Yeah, and I think I think we do underrate Eric a bit on his danger getting to the final tribal, because I think at this point he has 3 votes on lock. I think Micah, Evan, and Chris, I don't think they vote for anybody else at the end if he's there, because he didn't betray them. I mean, if Eric and Holly made it to the end together, Chris might have a little bit of an issue, but Eric hasn't betrayed a lot of people that are currently on the jury. And if this is a jury that is about relationships over strategy, which I could see it going either way. But if it is about relationships, Eric has a lot of good ones. He has a lot of good social capital, and he hasn't gotten a lot of blood on his hands, as tired and gross as that phrase is. So I really do think that he might be underestimated as a threat, and we might actually see a threatening level come up from him as a potential jury threat.
Yeah, I just don't see anyone other than those 3. Yeah, I just don't see anyone other than those 3 voting for Eric. I don't think anyone that makes it to the final 2, I think they're getting votes. That's the good thing. I think we're not going to see a shutout, which is always, shutouts are boring. We want to see some excitement. I think I can point to any one of these, and I can point out a few votes for any one of those players.
And I think even looking at those 3 votes, I'm not sold on Chris's vote in that position. And Chris is a super fan at this point, and he's the one who's been there at every tribal council, despite the fact that he's standing in the rain tonight. He's there. He loves Survivor. He's gonna vote based on who plays the best game. I don't think he's gonna vote based on relationships, even if he is his roommate. I think he's gonna vote straight to the point of who played the game that got.
because I might post some very early Ponderosa text chats in the lead up to the finale. I'm not sure about that yet.
Oh, love it.
Figure it out because the group me was very lively.
Can we get everybody to do a dramatic reading of the group chats?
Yes.
I might just do impersonations of each of them, but
It's better actually.
I mean, I think you're right in the way LeComp used the game, but I also think like that's exactly what I think is compelling about his character is that he also is so emotional, and it's so hard to separate those two things. I got a good question in the chat from Jono Driscoll saying, "Question for everyone: what's Eric's best angle in order to get to the final?" We've talked. I think people mentioned like what he should do next week, but what do you think is kind of the approach he should take long term? Thought it was a timely question.
I think his best move is to link up with Chris Thomas. I think that's his best move to get to the final two. So he needs to get out, I think, Holly or Victoria at final 5, and then use Ashley as a vote for final 4 to get out the other one. And then Chris Thomas and Eric take out Ashley at final 3. And then that's his path to the end. And I don't, or if he wins immunity at final 3, he'll take out Chris Thomas and then he'll go to the end with Ashley. And then it's a toss up between those two at the final 2. So I think that's his best move is to link up with Chris Thomas and kind of run the game from there.
I think his best move is to vote out Victoria, like straight away. Like just because if he votes out Victoria, what's Chris Thomas going to do? Like if he flips on Chris Thomas, if Chris Thomas didn't vote against Victoria, is Chris Thomas going to be a bitch about it, or is he going to just play the game that he's been dealt? He will play the game he's been dealt. He's gotten this far. He wanted Chris LeCompt out for so long, and he was very patient and very nice about it, and he made it happen. So, Chris Thomas wants to get to the end. I think that the best move for Eric going forward is to vote out Victoria at 5, tie the vote for Chris at 4, and no matter who wins, he has social capital to be taken to the finals regardless of who makes it to the final 3. I think he's the least threatening of all 3 of them to in terms of view. I believe that there will be bigger threats in people's minds than Eric if he gets out Victoria right away.
I think
Go. You got
Sorry,
that.
I was gonna say, the only 2 people he's going to make it to the end with are going to be like Ashley and Chris. Like Chris very much. Ashley, I think there is an element of that relationship that you can play to, look, we don't always like each other, but we're the only 2 people that can beat each other in the end, and it's mutually beneficial. But I don't know. The thing that I keep thinking with this, and I keep going back to it, even with if he takes Ashley too deep towards that final 3, she's like, in Survivor Panama, Exile Island with Courtney Marek, where you just have someone who is everybody's GOAT. And I kind of think anyone who lets someone like Ashley get to the final 3, she's automatically going to be anyone else's final 2. And that's no offense to Ashley. I love her. But from a gameplay standpoint, if she's in that final 3, she's automatically in that final 2. And that's the thing that I think, again, stops even Eric unless he wins immunity, which could happen.
Yeah.
I think switching gears a little bit, less how he gets to the end and how he sells it when he gets to the end. He has a lot of negative stigma around him playing behind Chris LeCompt the entire time. But if you really look at his entire game, even after Chris left, he kind of hid behind Micah and Evan a little bit. So I think his sell to the jury is he's built up shields as he's gone along, and that's kind of how he's been able to play a non-threatening game, have the other people around be the ones that are going to be the ones. He's got Chris Thomas right now that's ahead of him. Holly's ahead of him. There's all these other threats out there that are all going to start gunning for each other at some point. Why would I make myself one of those threats? I think that's the best way he can do it. Whether or not it works is a different discussion.
Okay. I think we've talked about a lot of good things. I want to wrap up our final 6 conversation by talking about Alex, and then I was just going to talk about the challenge for a second. I don't know if there's that much we have to talk about it, but I want to talk about the advantage for a second, and then I want to kind of open it up at that point to questions in the audience, and also maybe talking about the finale, previewing a little bit, and then season overall. We're already an hour through, so I don't want to take too long forever tonight. But let's get into real quick. Let's eulogize Alex G, since he's not here tonight to chat with us. I was kind of hoping that, well, I wasn't hoping for this, but it seemed like from the commentary from past weeks, everybody would unanimously be happy with Alex G leaving. This is great. We've got 5 people that we want to be in the finale. And then yet somehow people were like still sad at the end. Some people were sad about Alex leaving tonight. And I don't know if that's me doing like my job as an editor because people have felt bad about every boot at some point, or if I'm not doing my job. I don't know.
No, I think.
But what are your thoughts?
I think you captured the fact that Alex G, despite the fact that many people may say that he played a follower game as well, I think he played a way more dynamic game this time around than he did last time around. Like, this strategy that Eric had could have easily worked out for Alex too. It just didn't. I believe that Alex did have a good head on his shoulders. He knew what he was doing this time around, and it just didn't work out in his favor. And I also believe that he's just a fun, quirky, under the radar character who's just super funny. And am I heartbroken to see him go? I can't really say that. I think that there's better characters left in the game. However, do I think that he was a great addition to the season? Absolutely. Alex G is it was just a fun, nice little fresh, under the radar personality. And that's the kind of stuff that I like on Survivor.
And I think with Alex G too, that like what came off tonight was he was doing like kind of delivery about being safe for 2 weeks, and it kind of came off like ungrateful. But I think it was, like Bailey said, like the sense of humor he has and like a tone, it just didn't come off that way. So it seemed like he was ungrateful and sort of felt entitled. And like Victoria said, when he called her medium goat, which is crazy, that he just didn't seem to almost respect what they gifted him immunity for 2 weeks when they earned it with the twist and then earned it themselves and still gave it to him to keep him alive in the game. But I think it was a delivery thing. And Austin, I do think it's attributing to your editing that at the end of the day, for all these people and even for all of regular Survivor and any of these shows, everyone's human, and you're really showing the human element, which is everyone gave up a whole semester of school for this, and they put their heart and soul into it for the most part. And it's a bummer maybe Alex moved on from it, but at the time he really loved it, it seemed like.
Yeah,
I think it's a real shame.
I'm not here to bury people. Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm happy he went now. Like, I would have been fine with him leaving a few weeks ago. I really enjoyed him as a character. The thing, I'm so bummed out that he has not watched this, because what I would have loved to have known, looking at how he's furious. Like, I've never seen like that. Just, he's angry at being voted out. And I would have loved to have seen how he felt about the game and his perception of the game now that he's seen maybe everyone else's sides. I always thought he lacked, I don't want to say lacked self-awareness, but definitely his perception of his gameplay and his positioning and relationships with people, I just didn't think was as rooted in reality as he thought it was. And I feel bad for him, because that's like one of those things you learn as you grow up, and it's life. But I would have loved to have seen if he felt differently about this experience now that he'd seen all the things that were going on with everyone else, and if he felt differently about it.
I think out of the whole cast, Alex G was the one who was drawing dead, like 100%.
100%.
Right when Chris and Victoria gave him his immunities to stay in the game, I don't think he would have ever been able to bounce back from that. It would have just been like, you got lucky because your allies benefited from a twist. It's very cute that you made it this far. We can't vote for you because of it. And ultimately, I think that Alex G was a little cocky, like, about the medium goats thing. Like, I wrote down that Alex G getting a haircut is the biggest move he's made this game.
Beauty is pain. Beauty is pain.
And then later I said Alex G got another haircut because Victoria just snatched him bald.
Need the fan for that one.
Wait, what was that?
I said we need the fan for that one, I think.
Oh, wait, hold on. Where is it?
No, I think Alex G's biggest contribution was that GIF that Victoria did at the start of the episode when they were like embracing for that hug. I'm like, Oh my God, Victoria's face afterwards, I think made the season for me. It was so funny. Oh, live for
That is
it.
my favorite little moment from the whole entire season. I almost didn't finish this episode because I just pause, rewind, rewatch, pause. Right? It was like we had cool Victoria before, which is already one of my favorite moments. Now we've got like cold Victoria. Like that was just ice.
That was like levels of Feluke bitching about the game on the phone at the Final Four vote, levels of hilarious for me. Like, I was just dying laughing at just Victoria's, like, oh, please make that available for download so I can, like, use it in my everyday life.
Yeah, I mean, but Alex G, like, bless his heart, like he played hard at some points in the game. I don't think he quite knew, like, I don't know. He really didn't know the big picture of what exactly was going on. He had his own game in his head that he wanted to play and everything, but I don't think it fit into the picture at all, into what anyone else was thinking. And I think, Glenn, you had the great point. I think he has some life lessons to learn of, like, self-awareness and all that I think the others I think in this group, I think are much better equipped for, you know, that at that point in their life.
If I
Did Austin
Did we lose Austin?
Finally, someone is having technical difficulties.
in the Reddit Discord a while. But,
Hey, Austin.
We lost half of what you just said.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that I was going to eulogize Alex G, but in the Reddit Discord,
Yeah.
in the Reddit Discord, there was, if anybody has not seen this, there was somebody just put a picture of Alex's face and then put the music of the Wandoff song, if anybody listens to the podcast, where it's Bryce yelling Alex G and like constantly overlooked Alex G. It's honestly, like, it just killed me.
There's another one in there from about 20 minutes ago. That's the picture of the three of them after they all won the first immunity, and then they tore it in half. So it's getting cut out. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one too. If anybody can find the Wandoff one, the constantly overlooked, please post that in the chat. I need to. I'll play it. Anyway, yeah. So Alex, and people ask me. I mean, I think I was so happy with everybody who was in the cast, and I feel like everybody pretty much delivered on the potential they had, or at least showed something and show why they deserve to be there. And I do think that's totally true for Alex G also. Like, I think it was hard for everybody to kind of appreciate his spot in the game. And yeah, like, if you go back and you put Zach there, I think it's great to have Zach, and it's another person who's a really popular and well-known character. But I almost think that Zach kind of falls into a little bit more of like this straightforward strategist that we get a lot, whereas I feel like Alex G really did serve as a bit of a wild card, especially in the post-merge. And I feel like he at least, like, I don't think if he watched back, he would be that mad about his edit. Maybe, you know, a few more confessionals here or there, but it was hard to put those in. But of him kind of, I mean, he did articulate his strategy was to be under the radar very intentionally for a long time. And to have someone put that strategy out there and then do it, you know, totally do it, I think is at least interesting to discuss. And after he emerged from the shadows, I think he did try to play harder. But, you know, I think what people are a little bit sad about the end is that he did show so much passion in the vote, which kind of felt out of place and random a little bit to have that much bitterness. But I think he really did love the game. And I mean, he was really messaging me hard about the second chance and writing these novels about what he could do. And I think he probably did overcorrect and being tentative to reach out to people and talk about who he wanted out or anything. It was hard for him to build trust. But, you know, I think I can admire that he really did give it the shot and cared about it.
You know what? He delivered as part of anything that, like, this season was so exciting for a couple of weeks with that immunity thing because of Alex G. Because if he wasn't there, it would have been two people with immunity and some other folks, and it would have been still great. But it was the idea of them having a third, winning that immunity, giving it to him and keeping him, and then seeing that happen a second time. He delivered on that side of it. Maybe, you know, he wasn't our favorite player, but at the end of it, you know, he delivered on some super exciting weeks for us.
And Alex G had such good instincts this game. He knew to be under the radar. He knew there were bigger threats around him. And, like, let's even remember the fucking rock draw. If Alex G flips like they were trying to get him to do, he would have absolutely been voted out. And the fact that he was able to read the room and able to make the decision that was best for himself proves that not only did he came back to play, and he came back to play well. And oh my God, what the fuck? Okay.
Earthquake and Bailey's apart.
I got the rain coming down. I'm like,
Oh, it is right.
I think it was tough to see him go because even if we were a little torn on his character, he was a very unique character, and it's always tough to lose unique characters because they always bring something that's just them, and that's all of a sudden now something we're not going to get that anymore from this point forward in the season. I mean, who gets voted out and in their goodbye message says, "I was the fourth most likely to win"? Who else would say that other than Alex G? No one.
Lying about getting voted.
Yeah.
And I actually agree with his assessment of.
It was spot on.
The fourth most likely to win.
No, he wasn't. What? He was the sixth most likely person to win in that final six.
I think he beats Eric or Ashley.
Oh, I disagree.
Every single person's goat. There is nobody in that final six that he could have beaten. And I don't think it was even close.
He's not a medium goat. He was a big goat.
He was the goatiest goat of all of Goatopia. But
An XL goat.
Somebody in chat has marked him as sixth or seventh out of sixth place. Most likely to win.
All right. Well, okay. Enough talking about Alex G. There's a lot of airtime for him.
So something else before we move on that somebody pointed out in chat. Actually, we've been calling him Alex G this entire season. The other Alex went out first. We could have dropped the G at any moment, but we didn't do it.
Everybody who plays keeps the G too. That's the great part. I always like when that happens. I also like when Chris Thomas merged into CT.
And then has now merged to just Christ.
Yeah, Christ.
Well, that's been a thing. But
did people call him that in real life before this aired, or is that a purely suburban Maryland thing?
Or is that just me?
I feel like people usually call him Chris Thomas, so you kind of lose the Christ look of it. I do feel like Mel might have been the original Christ.
The moment I saw him and it said Chris T, I was like, it's Christ, guys. And I was minute one. I was obsessed with him. I was like, this is the greatest character on the show. So I know I was not in on it early. I did go back and watch it. I was, Chris T stan. But maybe Matt Gagan will fight me for it because I know that he's, obsessed. But he also is obsessed with Micah. So
I know. Matt he's a Micah stan. You're the Chris T stan.
I know. He did manage to watch this week. I think he did also predict that Alex G was the winner to me. So nailed it.
I was afraid that Alex G might be the winner. To be honest, I was getting a little nervous today. I was talking to Brian Scally about it, and I was a little nervous with the idea that Alex G would win this whole season, just under the radar and get there.
Who does he win against? That's what I don't understand.
It was just a fear. It was just a fear, Glenn. I just slept tonight and just cried and feared it every week. No logical reason.
He wins against Carla, who comes back from Island and takes the game.
What if instead of 5 episodes in, instead of Faluke, it was Carla who walked?
I honestly think that would have been as iconic.
I would have died.
Yeah, that would have been pretty iconic.
He Sue stormed into the competition that independent girl.
Okay, so we are already at 11 p.m. and I have a lot that I still want to talk about. So I want to open it up to some questions. If you guys see ones that you want to flag, let's not go to every one of them, but maybe anything that seems really interesting, and we can always come back to those later in terms of going back to the strategy. I wanted to talk about the challenge advantage because I've got a lot of questions about that. So actually, in my mind, I had planned it out beforehand and knew what I was doing. And what I remembered was that I had a thought that I wanted to try to do some sort of incentive for this kind of challenge. I wouldn't do it at the sundial, but at Final Six for Endurance Challenge, if it goes on a while, I would be willing to. I don't know the finale episode title. Are you kidding me? It's not there yet.
I'll choose it. Just send me
$1 million mistake. That's probably what it would be called if it would be a Survivor. So $100
Carla
mistake.
and Alan come back. The finale.
Yeah. Anyway, so my recollection was that I wanted to do something. Obviously, I can't really give food. I think one season I offered pizza, but kind of was a joke. It's not that much of an incentive for them. So I wanted to do an advantage, and so I looked back in my little crew group me that just had a couple of us, and November 8th, so before the challenge, I said I'm thinking no to planting another idol. So I was not going to do that, but I could plant a small advantage at the next challenge or offer it as a bribe to get down part of the way through. Boom, and then Anders asked, "Is it the pole standing challenge?" And I said yes. And he said, "What kind of advantage?" And then I explained what the next challenge was and what the advantage would be. Reasonable. And that was where it started. So the advantage was planned. I think if it had ended quickly and deals were made, whatever, I wouldn't have done it. But it got to a point where it was pretty clearly a stalemate. It was very cold. I had planned this before I knew the weather. It was late at night. I would have stayed there for a while, but I was cold. Also, I was running out of things to film with. It wouldn't have been great to not have the end of the challenge filmed. So that was one consideration. I don't know how long they would have gone. I certainly would have been interested to see how long they would have gone if there was no temptation. But I don't know if it would have been that much longer than what actually happened. It was getting pretty tough. But I just thought that kind of was interesting and giving people more of a thing to chew on and think about. And then I think the strategy that came from that was really interesting as well.
Can I say this was your best episode ever? Like
this one?
Yeah, you were fucking hilarious.
Oh,
like,
my best episode. Yeah.
Your best episode. Like
I was having a lot of fun.
We've talked about the gifable moments in this episode, but we don't even need a gif. We just need a photo of you reading in the middle of the challenge. We don't need it. It's already there. Yeah.
People were saying I was studying. I was not studying. I will. Maybe this ruins it, but I certainly was not reading, and I thought it would be pretty funny, and I think it was. But I mean,
3 years later, when you're editing it, you still found it and still found it funny enough to put it in the episode. So it must have been pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, I didn't have that many classes to take, so I was pretty easy last semester for me. So I was not.
There he is.
Look how beautiful it is. Look at it.
Oh my god! I just packed that sweater in my suitcase tonight. Yeah.
And just the amount of contempt in your voice when you offer the reward a second time. Like, okay, you losers. Here, listen up.
Well, I actually couldn't find the audio of that. This is really going really behind the curtain, but I totally dubbed that in. I couldn't find the audio of me reoffering it, so I just reset it.
Wow.
So it was more that I was. I'm really ruining the entire show for everybody. That happens very, very rarely. I do not. That's happened maybe twice this whole season, but now you know. Now that's the bonus insight you get on the recaps.
Well, the added contempt that you added.
Yeah. Let's. I guess next, let's sort of preview the finale, and we can do winner picks now too. And then I want to go. The last thing maybe we'll do is season look at the whole. Excited to have you guys for that. I might do a little bit of that with Anders when I interview him too, if that happens. But let's start with the finale.
I'm just stuck. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go.
Literally 10 seconds. Keep going.
All right. Sorry about Glenn. So let's kind of go through. I want to hear everybody's prediction on what happens in the finale and who you think wins, and then also who you want to win separately.
Okay, I'll start. So I think Holly will win, just because she set up the best of the 5, and I think if she makes it to the final 2, I think she has the best shot at getting the most votes. So against anyone, and then who I want to win, I want Victoria to win. I think she needs to redeem herself from last time. I would be here for her winning. And then with Chris Thomas, as like an aside, like I would love to see Chris Thomas win, but I think Victoria, she's played an awesome game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to agree that I think Holly wins at this point. She's set in a really good spot with this 5 now. She's got, King, who's a little here and there. But she's Christy, who seems to be super loyal to her all of a sudden. And she's got Ashley. So I really feel that Holly's set up to win. That said, who do I want to win? I haven't even made my pick before. I'm going to say it's Christy. I wish she'd take it. I want him to take it. I should pick him for both, but I do think probably Holly has it.
I'm actually going to use your want as the belief. I think Chris Thomas has set himself up the best in this end. I think that among everyone,
Alex G.
Alex, no, it's Carla coming back from Secret Redemption Island.
Oh, thank God.
It's Carla, honey. No, I think that Chris Thomas is the most well set up within that group. I don't think he ends up on the majority of the votes all the time. However, I don't think he's the target either. I think that he has the best, not only the most connections, but also the strongest. I think he's been very straightforward with who he's voting, and he's been very straightforward with his play. And I think that will garner him some trust. And I think that will help him get to the end. Now, who do I want to win? Oh, honey, it is Victoria, honey. I gotta say, Victoria would be the storybook ending for this season because Victoria easily had the most, the biggest target on her back. She was the one that had the most to lose. A lot of people say that she is the rightful winner of Terrapin Trials, even over Feluke. She had so many targets and she had to fight to get where she is. And for her to take it all the way and win an all-star season easily would be the best end of the season. And also just make her the best character in Survivor Maryland history. Not that she isn't already is, but it'd be undisputed. So I'm hoping for a Victoria win. I believe it's going to be a Chris Thomas win. And a Victoria win because she's going to win jointly. Because
it's a three-way tie, and we would all be happy because just that I enjoy everybody here that's still left in the final five, but there are three people that are just, to me, equally deserving to win. I also love Victoria. I think she really sees out every perspective of things and really overthinks, but in a good way. But I think we talked about this a little earlier too, that where she's changed from Terrapin Trials is I see a lot more personal connection with other players this time, and her social game has changed. Even though I know that her and Feluke were fun and good times last time, I see a different lightness of her with Chris Thomas than I saw in Terrapin Trials, and I think she's just having a lot more fun with it and not letting the game stress her out as much.
I think jumping up one more than that, skipping the what I think and going straight to the what I want, I think a final two of Chris and Victoria is not only giving us the storybook winner, but I think that is the storybook final that we deserve right now. Just their two arcs getting to the end like that, side by side, is just perfect.
Especially Victoria said in the beginning that she
right.
Yes.
With Thomas. For that to be the end.
Exactly. Just everything.
As well.
You can go back and watch the premiere and then watch where we are right now, and you see the things that Austin put in that first episode that now within context, Chris putting himself on the hero's side in the first episode. We thought it was funny at the time, but now we're looking back and we're like, shit, he was right the whole time. We didn't even think about it. Victoria coming in saying, I want to, I thought I played really well last time, but I have something to prove. I've got to make that one last step. I think she gets to the end against Chris Thomas, and based on how things have kind of seemed with jury management, I think she would edge out Chris Thomas there, and I think that would be a great way to end that season. I really do. I'll even just say that's what I think is going to happen. Why not? I'll double down.
Oh my God.
The interesting thing I noticed, I didn't realize it till I think it was the Secret Scenes last week. We're also high on Chris Thomas because he's great and he's everything and he's religion and it would be the best ending. I didn't notice the Secret Scenes with the Ponderosa. The jury don't respect or like the way he's played, which makes sense because he hasn't necessarily played as close with him. It was with Chris LeCompte, and I don't know if it was Evan or someone else. They were talking about it, and I didn't realize how not high on Chris Thomas they were as far as jury votes. And I don't think I considered that he could lose a jury vote till now because he's such a bright, shining star in the Survivor Maryland universe. But yeah, I actually don't know if he can win even if he makes it to final two. I don't think he can make final two though either. There's no way he gets there. It was interesting to notice that because I'd never clicked on it viewing until I saw the actual Ponderosa clip.
If Chris T loses final two, it is because he had such good connections and had to betray so many people that it ends up biting him in the ass. For me personally.
I think if you get to the end and it's Victoria and Chris Thomas, people are going to be more upset at Chris for backstabbing them than they are going to see Victoria. They're going to see Victoria as, you know, the strategic mastermind that we saw her as before we even started the season.
And
That
her
they do
social
with the
game.
context. Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And
Well,
this
she
is
doesn't have much social capital either.
That's the winner of the season right there. Austin in his book, the
this
final
is
two.
reading the holy word of Christ right here.
Austin loses a heartbreaker of a vote against Book 5-4 in the finals.
I expanded to a final three. It's actually the
And
book
on the
and
first
the
game,
bucket. The bucket did it, actually.
Hero.
Oh, so as far as winner picks, like, has everyone else done this? Or anyway, I have been like, the first episode I ever saw was All Stars, the first episode. So it's kind of like I've kind of discovered everyone in reverse. And like, back when I watched it the first time, my winner pick from episode 1 was Holly. Like, just gut reaction, not knowing anyone's history, not really knowing the dynamics between people. I just watched it, and at the time, I was like, this girl was going to win this season. Like, it was really clear to me just on the way she was playing and talking and approaching the game. And having marathoned everything, rewatched this season, right up till tonight, till the second, like, I just don't see how anyone else wins. Like, I don't even think anyone else is playing. Even Kristen Victoria, I don't think are quite playing on her level. Like, she is their blind spot, but I don't think she has any blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think last time I was on the recap, I said Holly was like this close to being such a great player of Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, especially after that merge episode where she should have gone home during the merge. Feluke had no business going home during the merge. It should have been Holly. Like, she has really come into her own as a great Survivor player. Her social game, her strategic game, everything has been so on point. So I'd be so happy if Holly won. But I mean, obviously, if I think we're talking dream final twos, for me, it would be Holly Victoria would be a dream final two for me. That would be just icing on top of a perfect season.
That would be a storybook arc as well, right there.
Yep.
I think realistically, the person all of us probably think is really going to win, it's still Shannon, because we can't die back. That's still our pick. We got to stay by our pick. Otherwise, Austin's going to just give us shit for the rest of the time we're here.
Yeah.
Can't have that. Shannon's coming back, and we're going to win. We'll get the last laugh.
Everyone wins.
All right. I had also one question that I flagged to myself, which was from Trey in the chat, and I really liked it. Give a one-word summary of each of the final sixes game. We don't have to go everyone with each of the six unless you have one, but if there are some buzzwords you want to throw out there for people that stand out to you, I really like that. I guess why don't we start by person? So let's start with Holly.
Paranoid.
It's a tough one to beat.
Yeah.
Paranoid is a good summary of that. And I think it worked for her. It's just she was very paranoid, and yeah.
Even just threat would probably be a good one. I think she's been one of the. I mean, like I said, she should have been the merge boot. So at least since that point on, people have been very aware of her position in the game. Yet she's still here, and she's still in a good position where, final 7 and final 6, she's dodged all votes. I think it's impressive.
Always an outlast.
Queen. Yeah.
Bailey and I are sitting here like we take exception to that one.
Yeah.
Queen goes to somebody else, unfortunately.
Queen Bee? How about Queen Bee, honey?
There you go.
Oh, honey. No.
Don't make me choose.
I was gonna say I think I kind of think that the one thing I feel like from Survivor Maryland that I've learned is that I feel like paranoid is actually one of the better features because there's so much behind closed doors. Like, I feel like you have to have I feel like that's something that something Micah lacked last week was a little bit. It's not just Micah though. I think a lot of people, you have to have a really heightened sense of that to at least account for those possibilities. It spurs you to talk to everybody.
In a negative way?
I didn't say you guys were. I thought it was interesting.
It's how you win Survivor, and I don't think she's been paranoid in a bad way. I think she's been just the right amount of paranoid. Like, she's been pretty on the money.
Next words for Ashley.
redemption.
Feisty, I said.
I had influencer. Or headstrong. Like she always stuck to her guns. She stuck with what she wanted, and eventually she got her way. And maybe that's stubborn, but I don't think that feels too negative to me.
I think decisive might work there. Of she comes up with what she wants and sticks to it.
She's very on. Some people might see it as childish, but it's also very honest. She knew exactly what she wanted, and she fought for it. And I think that if she's able to sell that point, she might have a fighting chance. It's going to be a very tough road for Ashley, but I think that is the perfect encapsulation of what she's done this entire game.
All right, Eric.
I said floater. I don't know if that's really works.
Yeah, I don't know.
Shielded, maybe. He's always got somebody that seems like they're in front of him.
Maybe pliable. Like he has been targeted a few times, but he's also been the person who's been like, I'm going to flip to this direction or that direction. I mean, the only reason he's still in the game is because he decided to turn on Evan. And that was the 4-3 that was needed to make sure that he stayed in the game. So he's always been able to, I guess adaptable might be a good word, because I think he has been, I do think he rode Chris Lecomte's coattails in the beginning, but once Lecomte left, he has been in the center of a lot of decisions. And he's gotten his ass out of a lot of situations. So I think he has been maybe savvy. I'm gonna go savvy. I think he has been very savvy, and I think it's gotten him this far.
Victoria.
Queen. Fucking
Queen. Yeah. It's Queen. Next.
Cunning.
That's a good one. I said cerebral.
I said patient.
Calculating would work too. It always seems like she's thinking a few steps ahead.
Oh, there was that great. I don't know if I saved it. That great picture of her from after.
I think actually Carl in chat has the winning answer. Victoria's is just cool.
Yeah. This is like the calculating picture of everything for me. I just love that one for right after Micah tells her about the. So you see like the math equations going in the background of like the gifs with the
Can we all
who posted the last week the Doctor Strange? That was
yes.
All right, and Chris Thomas.
Oh,
holy
hero.
Yeah, savior.
Survivor, because he's been on the bottom the whole game, and he's gotten the way where he is.
Versatile. He's been on the top, he's been on the bottom, he's been back again. He's the king of versatility.
He's scrappy.
He's a fighter. I think fighter fits him well.
Yeah, I like fighter.
Especially with the black eye he had before. That fits in.
Okay. So we have talked for about an hour and a half. I think I'm really liking the chat's words in there also. So appreciate you guys. Scally and Nate Stouffer both saying underdog at the same time. Nicely done. Good synergy there.
A power bottom? No.
Power.
Drunk. Yes.
How did we go?
Undescribable. That's his word. He's
How did we go a whole round of this interview and not mention how we're all gonna miss Alex G and his hickeys that he had?
Did he have this episode? Did they go away?
I think they eventually did. I didn't notice them this episode. They weren't as drastic.
Last episode was pretty brutal.
Can we talk about, I don't think we really went into it because we just got onto how amazing Victoria was, but like that hug at the start, I was so worried we were going to have like the Survivor Maryland, Sue Hawk, Richard Hatch all-star moment there. I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't want to have a Me Too movement before Me Too existed, but I was like, what is going on with that hug? It was uncomfortable.
It was so awkward.
It gave us the best gif of the season, though, so it's
Yeah.
a bit of a pass.
Yeah, I feel like the comparison of Alex G Victoria hugs to Chris Thomas Victoria hugs will it's really something different in the chemistry there.
Victoria got hugged for our sins.
I'll keep trying to take note of questions in the chat if we want to double back at the end. Oh, like I was saying, we're talking for a while. I wanted to bring up, and as I mentioned at the top of the show, we have a few more people kind of joining us right now, but I mentioned at the top that I want to do kind of season awards and talk about kind of like great, like the best of the season in a way, and have things to go off. Some of them serious categories, some of them funny categories. And I'm open-minded in what categories we have in this. So I'm going to start with a few that we can talk about and kind of throw out like nominations for, and then I'm going to put up a poll next week or something when things settle down. Because I feel like if I put it up right now, it would be like, all right, best moment, Victoria stare, best challenge, poll challenge, which those might be valid answers. I just like, I think that having the time to reflect will be good. But anyway, so I wanted to put some of these out there and have some suggestions to kind of spur everyone's interest. And then also you guys in the chat, if you want to recommend categories that I should put in there, I am definitely open to doing that. So the first one I had, and this is, I think, an just interesting talking point in general, because there are a lot to choose from. What do you think is the best episode of the season?
I think personally, it's got to be episode 5 when Feluke comes in, and not because of Feluke as the character. That's obviously a high point of the whole episode, but the way you told the story of Victoria's reaction to that episode without actually having her speak to what was happening in front of her, you were able to tell the story just by like showing how uncomfortable she was in the situation. I think was I honestly, I was captivated through that entire episode, and it is just, it's not saying that the other episodes were bad, but it is so far ahead for me in terms of quality of episodes, just the way that whole thing turned out and the storytelling that went along with her coming into the game.
And then
I thought it was perfect.
Sal saving the fuck out of Shoe Bowl by accidentally saying something wrong. Like, just
The episode had everything. It really did.
I'm going.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So I said the merge episode. I know it's cheating, but it's a two-parter. I'll take either part. The merge was so good, so good.
I'm gonna say that the final 9, when Shannon gets voted out, is probably my most captivating episode, because you're just. I don't think I've ever had a twist, and props to you, Austin, for coming up with this, but I don't think I've ever had a twist that has ever had me like so like captivated. You added stakes to the vote. Suddenly this 5-4 vote that could have happened from Rocks wasn't going to happen because there's this partner twist that could possibly be earned, and somebody could earn 2 weeks of immunity. And watching all of the players like not only jockey to stay in the game, but jockey to make sure that their pick got that 2 weeks of immunity was just amazing to watch. And the fact that it ends with Eric voting out his partner, which would guarantee him 2 weeks of immunity.
While they're all hungover as well.
On top of it.
Yeah, Hangover Tribal. Yep.
Hangover Tribal. Yes, Hangover Tribal was incredible.
I'm surprised no one said what my pick would be. I was thinking about it. I thought it was going to be the obvious choice, but the final 10, like the whole entire rock, like.
Yeah.
I watched it the other night, and it is even better the second time around. Like, nothing makes up for the heartbreak of it's a roller coaster of emotions. There is like the giddiness that they go into, even right down to the boat with like Victoria and Chris and Shubal. Everyone's so energized. All the confessionals in that, like, it is a perfect episode. It's got that weird music. I still don't know what it is. It sounds like, I don't know. There are some music choices in there that I can't place, and it's got this quality that is like next level for a show that is already next level.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say also, I want to add in terms of, and this is like not biased because my least favorite character went out, but Micah's boot episode is probably the best self-contained episode. Like, it is a I love
Oh Micah. Aw.
arcs and watching Micah go from he's like, oh yeah, man, I lost my right hand, man, but man, now it's gonna make me more versatile. And then he's like, he almost wins a challenge, he gets voted out, like he loses like just shy, but then he gets an idol clue and he gets an idol, and he's like, holy shit, I found this idol that's been out for 7 weeks. Oh, but I'm gonna make sure that I play it this round. I'd rather waste it than walk out with it. And then he tells Victoria for some reason, and Victoria is able to rally the votes to get Micah's idol out of the game, which, by the way, he also said before he got the idol that he would don't vote for me if I play an idol. So then he has the idol in his boot and he walks out with it from a 3-2 vote.
Rewatched any of these episodes? Like, has anyone
Definitely.
All Stars since Micah's boot last week?
Wait, what was that?
Like, has anyone rewatched any episodes from this season since Micah got booted? Because I rewatched most of them again this week just to because I was curious. He talks about idols so much. 50% of Micah's confessionals are about idols, about making fun of Schubel for getting voted out with an idol, making fun of Chris Thomas for pretending to have an idol. In the Merge episode, he has a whole entire monologue about most of Micah's content is idol related this whole entire season, and I don't know how the bucket hasn't had a nervous breakdown watching this season with the knowledge of how he went out, because it is brutal. I can't believe Austin did it. It is savage. I'm setting up a Kickstarter so Micah can get into therapy, because it is, I don't want to say humiliating because I don't, but it must have stung on levels we did not understand until last week.
Austin continued to be a shady editor.
How could you do this to the world's coolest ant?
Micah
Come on.
is great. I think he takes it in stride and had fun moments this season. But I will say I did see. I'm interested to see where the vote goes. There was a lot of buzz about 14 last week, but recency bias for sure. But I'm very interested to see how that one goes. Obviously, it could be split in 7 different directions. So that's why I'm hoping to get a lot of votes.
Which vote?
Oh, I'm saying I'm gonna get a lot of votes in the poll when I put it up, so that we have an actual good sample size, because it'll be split a lot of ways. This is one that I like, and I feel like there are a lot of candidates for this. Some will probably definitely jump to mind, but best single scene.
Ooh. The partner twist finally ending and crowning their glory with the necklaces and the emotional music. It was like all the old fallen comrades that you wish you got emotional at now, or back in the days, this is the best part of Survivor, is watching everyone say goodbye. But it was so a culmination of all these weeks of everything, of all the stress. And of course, we just talked about that moment of Eric voting out his own partner. It was just an epic moment of the season.
Did you expect that twist to have that much payoff, Austin? To get that?
I really, when I first, I really had an epiphany. I've talked about this, but I had an epiphany when I came with the twist. And so I actually really liked it. But I don't think I could have predicted how good it would turn out to be. I mean, you could not script anything.
He voted out his partner. He's like the Sierra Easton of his time, No, but for me, the best moment has to be Holly and Chris LeCompte in the car. Holly says, "Fuck your friends," and tries to convince.
My quote.
That is the best scene of all time. So good.
I want to
That's
bring.
mine as well. That is my favorite moment for the whole entire franchise.
I want to bring up Ashley lecturing Chris LeCompte. Chris Thomas on how to be how to be more likable in the game.
That is a great scene. That is a really good pull there.
Just watching Chris Thomas in confessionals be like, "Oh my god, this is where I am currently. Oh no, oh dear." Oh god, fucking incredible scene.
I think I'll throw 2 Schubel ones out there. I think the first one is just the whole scene of him convincing everybody that him and Sabrina were hooking up, and that's why they were so close to each other. Just the whole cutaways of him talking to everybody, and the continued conversation as it goes along was just hysterical to watch. And I think that's one that'll just always come back. And also going back to Schubel again, him stuck in the closet for 2 hours.
Yeah.
was just amazing. Just the entire time of just, you don't even have to cut away to him, just having the time just like continue to shift by the entire time. You're like, he's still in the closet, right? Like,
Yeah.
that, like, you're just waiting for the payoff the entire time because you know he goes in, he's just like, I gotta go to the bathroom, so make it quick. And then 2 hours later.
I don't remember who the other half of this scene was, but who was in the scene where they're talking strategy while Shannon's in the bathtub?
Shubal too. That's also Shubal.
Yeah.
Is it Shubal?
Was that with
Yeah.
Shubal?
It's Shubal, right? But she's sitting in the bathtub and he's just like sitting on the floor.
He has her head in a towel, and like I think he has a towel on, and it's just so out of place. And I'm like, what the fuck is this show?
If we're gonna talk about Shubal scenes too, we have to at least mention the elapsed time on the Shubrina initial scene, their first meeting.
Yeah.
That was an early classic.
Yeah, I also liked the drunk tribal fallout after
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, Senti flipped, and Holly just goes ballistic. Ashley goes insane. It's
And
fantastic.
she hugs Chris LeComte for a very long time. We talk about awkwardly long hugs.
And how you can't pay attention to Sierra's final words because you hear everyone shouting in the background.
Yeah, we need a supercut of awkward hugs of the season. That would be fantastic.
Begrudgingly hugging.
A lot of hugs, a lot of fist bumps, handshakes. What was the best single move? We made?
Sabrina with the fake idol, I think. Was it the Senti vote out, and then Shubal gives Sabrina the fake idol. Sabrina plays it like perfectly. She ends up saving herself for another week. That was a fun move.
Chris LeComte getting Nicole to break, I think, is easily the best move because I think
the worst move of the season for Nicole Senti. Like,
it turns out so differently if Chris LeComte leaves.
There's no bottom alliance at that point. The whole merge is a completely different dynamic if that vote goes differently.
The whole thing, but we keep all the legends in the season. Like, it's let's see what else. I think we have to mention Alex G, like seeing through the lie and choosing to go to Rocks. Like, you have to, because if Alex G doesn't, Alex G goes home. So for him to be able to take the risk to go to Rocks, despite the fact that he was whispered sweet nothings in his ear, really proved that he had at least a lot more social awareness than he did the first time he played the game.
I think if we're looking at the tribals in a vacuum, the Michelle vote for Shubal, I think, was just on a complete different level. Obviously, as you were watching it the entire time, you saw how it was going to come apart as soon as that tribal ended. But contained within that tribal, everything that he did to set up everything exactly how he wanted in that bubble was incredible to watch.
I was going to say, I think as far as the move goes, even though it didn't end up paying off still now, but I mean, Shubal in particular getting Shannon to feel comfortable enough to flip on the comp, which created that core type 5, which in a different timeline without that rock draw, which mathematically should have worked out in their favor. Like, that would have put them in the final fight. Like, that move, like, particularly for whatever her baggage with Lecompte is outside of, what's aired, that shouldn't have happened. Like, the reason that even got to that point was because everyone on the season was so convinced she would never, ever, ever betray him, no matter what. And the fact that, however it played out for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If I was Shannon after that tribal council, the word rock would just set me off. Between last season and this season, it's
No more
what
rock.
are the odds?
I think getting rid of Chris LeComte was probably one of the biggest moves. I do think that if there was any scenario where a season could have ended up Pagonging, it would have been if he was still in the game and had such a hold on that alliance to an extent. And I think it was actually the best move for Holly's game because she sort of went, even though she's always still on the radar, maybe a little more under the radar because she didn't have the partner twist on her back anymore.
Nobody saying best move was Chris Thomas's fake text.
Oh,
Second best after Evan and Mike has misspelled idol.
Yeah.
wow,
Did
great one.
everybody-
That's
This is not me getting political. Did everybody see the Trump White House
Yep.
tweet of Sate? Oh my god! It also took me 5 times to read that because I didn't realize it was in the bolded part.
Oh gosh, I have to look that up. Oh boy.
You've hit the mainstream now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think best episode title. I think that's probably the best episode title is Our Country and Our State.
No, don't enable it.
Mhm.
I should have two separate episode titles. The merch bit should have been called "Fuck Your Friends."
Yeah.
In the next episode, and I am barely talking to Austin because of this. And do not enable.
You know, I feel like if you put that as a title quote, it kind of ruins the moment of it. Like, not
Yeah.
just-
I think it ruins the moment of it, and it really ruins. It'll ruin your your YouTube metrics.
right, my
I feel like,
it's like a
Put
hidden
an
video.
asterisk.
I will say the amount of like messages I got, like, "Hey, there was a typo in your title for State."
I was the first one. I was like, hey,
Yeah, you were.
Austin, just checking. This may be relevant to the episode or something, but you misspelled the title. And he's like, all right, cool.
I was like, oh, did I do that? Did I misspell it? Are we sure?
There was like 2 winky faces.
What would we say? And it could be someone from the final 5 from the finale. But if you want to go back to and honor somebody else, fan favorite player of the season.
Ashley Roach.
Oh, Shoeble.
Yeah, I think she will.
Christ.
Sabrina, actually. Like.
Yeah, I'll double back.
Sabrina.
I'm
Man, I'm still Devo that she did not make it to that merge. Like.
I'll be able to rewatch this season, and I will have to skip that episode every time I watch this season. I think because I don't know if I don't want to handle that again.
I have to say Queen V. I just think she's been one of the best characters in the entire series, much less this season. Like, I love her. She needs to be fan favorite.
Is there a $10 fan favorite award or no?
Maybe, yeah.
Someone call Sia.
maybe
Australian, I might know her.
Adam Klein will donate $10 to the fan favorite winner of the season, and hopefully he can afford it.
Chris,
Venmo.
you labeling yourself a hero just shows that there is self-confidence left in the world. On that. Here, buy yourself a haircut. You need it.
All right. Well, feel free for anybody who really feels strong. Oh, I did see an episode, a category that Stephanie stole from me that I actually had written down, but I liked a lot. Was a best duo, which I feel like like your first reaction might be like, okay, Christoria, but then you can also like Sabrina and
Sabrina, totally Sabrina.
I feel like Ashley and Eric is an underrated one. I think
Chris Shannon or whatever their name is.
Shannon,
It's not the alliance.
the Micah Chris Thomas showmance.
Definitely Ashley and Alex Pascal. That one. They had a lot of content together.
For me, it's Sabrina. Yeah.
I think Christoria had a better story. I just think like there was more stakes. It has more payoff. So I have to say Christoria. And I'm also a thirsty gay that's going to vote Victoria and anything positive in this. So. Where's my fan? Hold on.
Oh, we're back. I'm kind of upset we didn't see Austin and Book. Ashley and Bucket will get mentioned. I'm upset we didn't see the 2 dogs tonight. Just saying. That was the one thing missing from the recap tonight. Was
Yeah, Schroeder ran in the other room a while ago. He made a weird noise, but I muted it for you guys so that you wouldn't have to hear him going like, eh.
I think honorable mention for best duo, Survivor Maryland and Open Flames. I think that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Austin and Books.
Alex G and Rain.
Brandon and the table. I don't know.
The table was...
I miss Brandon so much.
Carla and Winning.
Oh.
Carla and Xandria getting that like outcast twist and coming in at final 5 was my everything.
Well, I don't know if we want to talk about best quotes, but
I got one.
Yeah, we can go for that.
I've said mine like 5 times.
What?
Yeah.
What was that?
Beauty.
I said I
Talk to your friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
Although,
that's
my backup one, Feluke, why is he always peeing?
I have that one written down too. Yeah.
We got to give credit to episode 5 with Evan saying floater's gonna float and schemer's gonna scheme, but when floaters start to scheme, sorry, that's the end of your dream.
There's nothing else that I didn't even look for any other quote. That was the one that I thought of, and I went straight for it. Just if we're doing a favorite quote, I think we would be amiss to give it to anybody but Evan. That man is a walking quote machine. And
Yeah, he has really good one-liners. I had from Shannon after the merge episode. Do I have to resort to Victoria, Schubel, and Chris Thomas? Oh shit, that's where my game is right now. So that especially after that chaotic merge vote, and the way that Shannon like looks at the camera, it's perfect.
I have a bae. His name is Jesus.
And then why you always lying from Feluke.
And also Chris Lecomte, double.
Yeah.
Underrated quote from tonight, which I don't know if everybody picked up on, but I really liked the voting confessional. Eric saying like, "Looks like you've overstayed."
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like maybe laugh every time.
Let's see what.
I will say, it was a very slightly deleted moment because it was just hard to hear. But you could see Ashley walk up to the urn, and she's like, "Hey, if I can't hook her with the marker, just like no."
Was when Christy wanted to go out to the bar, and she was like, everyone was mad at Christy. He wanted to go out to the bar. All he wanted to do was go out. And he goes, I mean, we still went out afterwards.
I think the best quote is just the sound of Super Smash in the background of that entire scene.
Oh,
It was
I
just
just realized what we haven't said yet, and it's like a testament to how great this season has been that we've all forgotten it. Where is your shirt gone, Chris? From the first challenge, when he rips his shirt off and hulks out.
Yeah.
Ashley said that was one of her favorite moments of the season, and that's such a good one too.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the dominoes falling. That's like a epic moment.
Yeah.
The fact that the 2 first challenges were so close.
Yeah.
Was incredible. And then also Chris Lecomte ripping off his shirt and then losing.
Oh my god. Almost punching Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like a good quote might be, I don't remember which challenge it was or what the exact quote was, but whenever Austin mouthed off to somebody during a challenge and basically just told them to deal with it, like they were complaining about something, he's just like, that's not my problem. Deal with it. I don't remember which challenge it was. It was a couple episodes ago. It was one of the later challenges. I think it was the balloon stomping one, maybe. I'll go back and find it. Yeah.
I mean, we can't do a quote, but can we do the fashion statement of Schubel's bottom shirt? That as a quote, because that shirt was incredible, and I need it sold as something other than a fleece. That's homophobia at work. I'm not wearing a fleece.
I never released the results of the best tribal rankings that I did for before the season. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then go to look at the videos like of the preview for the season, and I put a link in there for like greatest tribals ever. But I'm interested in seeing how this season stack up against some of the great ones. I mean, like it's not going to be a surprise. Some of the ones at the top 5, definitely in the mix. You had the Outback Final 8, the Cool Victoria. Guts and Glory Rocks, I think, was in there. I don't remember exactly what the 5 were, but
I see this season occupying half of the top 10.
Well, I feel like this season. I don't want to. I think there were a lot of incredible tribals. Drunk Tribal has been mentioned a lot. Tribal is great too. The last one was like that, but I feel like it'd be interesting to see how those fall. Like I feel like Cool Victoria and the Final 8, especially the 2 of those, are so iconic that as like singular tribal moments. Or blindsides at least, but I don't know. That'll be something to kind of rank in there also when we get rankings of.
Yeah, and I would pick the rock draw from this season over the rock draw from last season, just because Schubel was rocked out this time instead of
And then
And Molly's down.
yeah.
All right. Well, it is right at about 2 hours now. I think we've talked about a lot. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys, which I predicted would happen, and looks like it came true. So hopefully everybody watching tonight and who will be watching later, I think we'll probably have a lot of people catching up on this now that it's not on Maryland Mondays. But we'll look forward to hearing that. And certainly if you did watch this, then leave your thoughts on things. But I really enjoyed having this group and talking it all out and looking back at the whole season. Admin things going forward, like I said, it's going to be a bit for the finale. I hope we can wait. I think it'll be worth it. It'll be really fun. I think there are so many fun permutations that we have at this point that this should be a wild ride. And I will keep you guys posted on updates. Like I've mentioned a lot of things that I want to do in the meantime. Obviously, I want to make sure I drill down on editing and getting it done. So, some of those might fall by the wayside, but going to do my best. And where did I have my notes?
While you're thinking, I'd love to give a great shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys have been great.
Yes.
Seriously,
I know,
you guys have
thank
had a
you,
lot of good
guys.
questions. Double kudos to Ashley for being here the entire time and putting up with us. It's
Yeah.
weird having people talk about you specifically in something that happened 3 years ago. So seriously, thank you for being here.
Thank you, and thank you for being a good sport about it, and
Yeah.
most of all, thank you guys all for playing the game and giving up your semester or while you're doing other stuff. Where I know I definitely did not put any time like this into anything cool my last semester of college. I was probably just more out at the bar. So it's really great that you guys all balance it with other activities and let us in on it and watch it, because you guys have been entertaining for us as these internet weirdos who like Survivor and have loved yours. So thank you guys, and thanks for everybody in the chat for sticking around for 2 hours while we blab on.
And I think we need to give a shout out to Austin, because this
Yes.
is our last live. I don't give a shit if you're going to shoo me away. No, Austin, you have made an incredible season. You have obviously your players, but you have edited this to be one of the best Survivor seasons ever. Period. This is possibly in my top 10 favorite seasons of all time across any platform.
100%.
I think it's comfortably in the top 10.
Yeah.
And that's not just saying anything.
I'm helping to plan my fan Survivor weekend next year, and I basically just want to plagiarize this entire season. But I won't.
Cats too. Everybody's like, why is all the
But
cats?
they're
Why is
both dominoes.
Why is this called All Stars? This doesn't make any sense.
But no, honestly, you have made an incredible season that has been absolutely captivating, especially in this time with the regular US show, when it feels like the fans feel like it's starting to get stagnant and boring, and that it really pays off to see someone use the bare bones that they developed in the first place and still pull off an incredible season with great twists, minimal idols, great casting and storytelling. You have really shown every single actual filmed big production version of this show who the fuck is boss. I want that to be known and recorded, because you're a fucking baller and I love you for it. And thank you so much for delivering not only this season, but 3 other amazing seasons. And you deserve that. So
Well, 3.5. 3.5.
Shubel's like, hey. Well, thank you, Bailey. And again, it does mean a lot. We'll have time to get emotional. I'm also not going away after this. I think I'll probably do a big Q&A and just live chat, whatever, after the finale ends. And I can finally share all of my full thoughts on everything, because I like to talk about it.
Plus, then you have to come on for recaps for Anders. Once he takes it.
The tough part is that I'm I do know stuff. That's why I haven't had Anders on for one of these. Is you can talk around it certainly, but I think it people will always have the idea, and also it just worries me. I have so much anxiety every week that I'm gonna say something or somebody's gonna say something, but everybody's done a good job. I know people have at times been like, I think I figured something out, and it just is always ends up being wrong. So
it's worth remembering too that this isn't your job. You have an actual job.
It's true. That's
so
true.
However long it takes you to finish this final episode, no one should complain. You're doing this on your time.
Yeah, people are asking about a swag update. Not any details on that, although I know people have been talking to Schubel directly about trying to purchase those shirts. I've said this on Twitter and a couple places, but we are looking to sell some stuff at the end of the season for charity. The charity in particular that we're working on.
Micah's therapy.
We'll talk a little bit more about direct correlations of people in this after it's all over. But I think suicide prevention is the kind of angle we're taking for a few reasons. So, you know, I don't know how much money we'll actually raise, but I would love to do that with that shirt and also all the Scally shirts he posted today. I know.
I just tweeted. Yeah, Scally's shirts are amazing.
Yeah, definitely check those out. Maybe we'll incorporate some of those. I know somebody was sending me a design of Feluke tank today, so there's stuff on that front. There's also I know that I think I still have the partner necklace community necklaces. So
where are the earrings, Austin?
I think Holly stole the earrings. I really think Holly took the earrings.
I want a fuck your friends t-shirt. That's what I want.
I want a whole Holly fashion line.
Hashtag holistic view on the back. Maybe Holly will sell her tops for she has those stylish. That would be a little weird. I don't know about that, but
this isn't Big Brother where we just sell our
really tops.
Chris Thomas's used Kleenex from his bloody nose.
I'm a big fan, but that's too much.
I still want Sabrina's Hooters name tag that Shannon had in her pocket. It's in like the secret scenes from the tribal council. I think Shannon went, and she just in her pocket she pulls out Sabrina's old Hooters name tag.
Yeah.
I want that. That is.
I wish I still had or collected more of those things. I think they got purged when I left college by my family a little bit, but I don't know. I'll dig some stuff up. I still have to go.
You don't have 16 Dizzy Bats lying around after that? All of
those were not mine. I borrowed those. As with the tables, the poor tables were not mine either. Anyway, so I'm gonna still look at that. It's really hard for me to figure out all the details while trying to edit and do everything else. It's just hard for me to get my life together. So I'll talk more about that at the finale, and then we'll kind of arrange all that. If you, in particular, if you want the Forever Immune shirt, reach out to Schubel on Twitter. He's already started the process of doing that. I promise.
$69.
Yeah, no, that was not Schubel selling. That was an off vendor that I hope took it down because I contacted him. So we'll work on all that. I know I say this a lot, and you guys, it's been really amazing to see the support and the growth, and I know how hard that a lot of people who put these fan mates together work, and certainly I've been there, and I think I got really lucky in taking off pretty early, even before. I've always said All Stars is to me by far the best season, and both in terms of how I've developed as an editor, but also just the content and the amount of footage and everything, and the fact that I was able to get people interested in watching that it happened back in Outback was really lucky for me. So I thank all of you guys for that. And the biggest way you can show your appreciation for me is really just being vocal and loud about it and spreading it to different communities and Twitter. I'm going to make one more big push in the next couple of weeks, maybe next week, to tweet out the playlist and to get people to watch it. Because I think there are just a few people who are holding out and bigger names or people that have influence or have been on the fence about it. I would love to convert a few of those, just get as many people on board as possible for the finale. At this point, also, I've been just telling everybody, just watch the All-Stars premiere. I'm not trying to get them to go back. If they want to go back later, fine. But I'm going to make one more push on that, and I certainly appreciate any help with that. But no obligation of anybody, just so you know, I had to say it. But thank you guys again to everybody who's been here tonight, and to you guys especially for coming on, and to everybody who's come on the recap this season. I think I did write down, I have to debate it, but I feel like I might do best recap guest as a category also. Well, I'm not going to do worst or the full rankings, but I feel like if we have a couple of great names, that's at least a positive thing. So, but I really enjoyed connecting with a lot of you guys that I wouldn't have otherwise. So I wasn't sure if I was going to do these recaps going into the season, and I'm so glad that there is the support and the community and the fan base to make that worthwhile and important to do every week. So I know I got to ask questions about the finale and a recap there. The plan is probably, I would love to have another Maryland Monday, but given how long the finale will probably be, and then it's the finale, I'm thinking about maybe a Sunday finale. Starting it a little bit, maybe at a 6 p.m. or something, and having a little bit more time after the fact, and trying to get people together to do a mini cast reunion with whoever's around as much as possible. I would really love to have that. We were talking about it a little bit in the group meeting tonight. So we will. Yeah, Adam Klein's dad is my is the best recap guest, hands down.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna work on that and getting that together, and that's my thought. So Survivor Maryland Sunday still has a nice ring to it, so that's not bad. You know, traditional Sunday finales. That's a thought I have, but it would be a few weeks. Also, like Christ is trying to get me to go on a camping trip, and I'm like, I got editing, dude.
Film it.
Yeah, I will film it, but
Spin-off.
so I have to figure out what weekend I'm actually going to do it and what it's going to work. But we'll get there. Again, follow me on Twitter and everything for updates. And I've talked enough tonight. I'm kind of shocked that we're not losing viewers at like 5 clicks a minute, but that shows that you guys are great. So I'm going to go to bed and get my life together. And it's been great to talk to all you guys. So thank you for coming on again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Good luck with your life getting together. That sounds important.
Well, no, I just I'm traveling tomorrow, so that's why I really want to get the episode out today.
Bahamas, right?
Oh, your wedding, right?
Not my wedding, but I have a wedding. Yes, but getting married to my wife, as Bailey would suspect.
It's true. I'm the bride.
But that wasn't on the air. That was before that. All right. Well, good night to everybody, and I will see you guys in the coming weeks. You'll hear from me before the finale. So this is not the end yet. So, all right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.